Greetings! It's me, Chris Seaver, and I'm here for the Gory days, sitting with a living legend, as far as I'm concerned. Right here with the one and only Todd Falco.
That's right.
Todd Sheets. Todd Sheets, ladies and gentlemen.
That's me.
That's right. And I am going to talk to him. I'm going to ask him some magical, wonderful, sensual questions about his life, his career, and the mayhem that he's caused in the past.
I have caused some mayhem.
Yes,
some of which we can't talk about on camera.
That's right. Now, I've talked about Todd many times before throughout the years, throughout my filmmaking career, as one of the pioneers of shot-on-video horror films, and what helped me and inspired me and helped me grow throughout the years to become the garbage filmmaker that I am now. But this man is responsible for a lot of the magic and the passion, and to this day, still getting inspired. So it's an honor for me to be sitting here talking with
the honor's mine.
Todd Sheets.
You know how I feel about that.
That's right.
Chris is the man.
Right. And we've done two little panels together as well, which was great. And I didn't even want to be there, man. I was just like, why am I on this panel? Especially with one of the Polonia brothers. I was just like, Todd Sheets, Apollonia? I was like, I'm Chris Seaver. I make the fart, poopy, teenage movies. What am I doing here?
You belong there. That's
but it was great. So let's go into this, folks. Okay, so number one.
Okay.
Where did your love of the genre start? How did it light that sensual fire under Todd Sheets' pouch?
Well, my pouch was lit when I spent a lot of my youth at the drive-in movie theater. We would go every weekend, and invariably you'd find a lot of different types of movies. My first real childhood memory was Night of the Living Dead, and that kind of was really fascinating to me. And of course, I watched growing up in the 70s. They always had the Friday Fright Night or the creature features on, and we'd watch those. Those were sometimes on in the afternoon even, and so I really got into that whole. The monsters, the Universal monsters, the Wolfman. And I remember my other first childhood memory was The Boy Who Cried Werewolf with Kerwin Matthews. It was so cool to see this werewolf, and he threw the hippies down the hill in an RV. That's what they deserve, those darn hippies. Yeah, right. So, but I absolutely fell in love with werewolves first, and absolutely monsters, the whole monster genre, and. I was a famous Monsters kid, when I was young. My big dream was to go meet Forrest Ackerman, which I got to do, and did the little tour, and, it inspired me to want to do this myself, so I stole my dad's Super 8 film and would go out with my friends and make Frankenstein epics or what have you. We'd do Dracula sometimes. One time we did Captain America versus the Wolfman. That was sure Marvel would love me at this day. At least it was more true to the original than what's going on right now. Poor Cap.
So what were your parents? Did they were they encouraging? Or was it the typical what are you doing with your time?
Yeah, I think that's how it was with all of us. I mean, my dad was mad because I took all his film, so he wouldn't develop it. Yeah. But luckily, my grandma and grandpa would help me out. I'd sneak it over there, and they'd develop it for me. And my mom was kind of it's cool if that's what you want to do, but you gotta when you get older. Got to get a real job. Got to go work at the print shop, whatever it is. I had 50 real jobs when I was, old enough to work. I started out at El Sombrero Mexican restaurant when I was 15, and I was like, this is not my idea of a good time here. I'm washing dishes. I should be washing blood off of the floor. I should be making movies here. And I would spend a lot of my money on not only my own movies, but also, I'd be making because you had to buy film back then and get it developed, and so it was very expensive. And then video came into play, and I was saving up to get a video camera, and just all that stuff, and that was my passion. And I'd also buy a lot of movies and go to the movie theater a lot, because before there was Betacam and then VHS, there was the movie theater, and I would see American Werewolf in London 83 times, not even kidding, at the movie theater. It played for almost a year because it was nominated for Academy Awards, so it kept coming back, and I kept watching it. It's because I wanted to, learn as much as I possibly could, and I just loved it so much. So that's kind of where I guess it came from, the pouch light thing.
Yes. Yeah, sensual pouch, yes.
That's right.
Oh, well, I guess you just kind of answered that question as far as like, well, I guess, like the filmmaking bug, like do you remember a moment that you were just like, this is exactly what I want to do? Because for me, it was 7 years old. My mom took me to see Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. For some reason, it was that movie that I was like, I want to figure out how they did this. I want to do this, But, and I always say it's so weird because I loved Star Wars. I was a Star Wars kid. I loved all of that stuff. So why didn't that stuff, why didn't like the Muppets, why didn't like all of that type of, media, entertainment make me say, I want to do this? But no, it was Nightmare on Elm Street. Because I knew I wasn't going to scare anybody. No way. But I was just like, I want to make this stuff, Well,
I think that movie in particular is like the way the dreams are warped around and the imagination used. I think that movie opened up a lot of people's, their own imaginations. I think it inspired a whole generation of filmmakers, really. So
where did that moment, like for you, just be like, you know what, I really need to pursue this. This is something that I can see me like.
I think for me it started with the Universal monsters, really, because the Wolfman, I love the Wolfman, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon was always like right there with him. And I started doing makeup first. Like they had the Dick Smith makeup book, and at school they used to have the Scholastic book thing. The book bus would come, and you could go on the book bus and get you some books. And so I would come out of there with like the books that no kid would ever want. But they were there, so I would take them. But it was like the Wolfman books, or the books about cryptozoology, or Bigfoot, or this. And then they had the movie books, like the horror monsters. Like I remember the Monsters Who's Who book and all this stuff. And I'd get those books, and I would read through them every single day. And I just wanted to do it. So I found that Dick Smith makeup book, and it told you how to do it with stuff around the house. Yeah. So next thing you know, I'm stealing my grandpa's lamb's wool, and I'm putting it on my face with pancake syrup to stick it there, because I didn't know what latex was. I just went by the book. It said, hey, if you need something sticky, use Caro syrup or this or that. And so I stuck that stuff right on my face with pancake syrup, and I used up my grandma. Now, this was the 70s, so there's brown eyeshadow everywhere. I used up all that stuff, and I made my own fangs, but my favorite fangs are the ones that came in the Barnabas Collins game. They had a Barnabas Collins board game, and it had these neat rubber fangs, so those became my fangs. And I did makeup, and I would go up through the neighborhood in the middle of the night, sneak out and scare the hell out of the neighborhood kids. And inevitably the police sirens would start wailing, so I'd have to go up a tree for a couple hours. But yeah, I mean, that was my love. And so I kind of just went from there that, okay, I'm going to make a Frankenstein movie. I didn't really even think about it, and I certainly never thought about, I'm going to be a director. Like now, everybody in Kansas City is a director. I swear to God, here in this town. There's no gaffers. there's no sound guys. Yeah. It's like everybody's a director. And if you have an actor on a movie, this happens. I had a guy laying in a pool of blood one day. The next day he's a director. I swear to God. This happens here. It's like insane. You're an extra. You've never even thought about making a movie. You laid in a pool of blood. Now you're a filmmaker. Yeah. So I don't know. Back then it wasn't that way. I didn't think about directing. There was no one else to do the stuff. So I could just get my friends together, and I would just tell them what to do. Like, all right, man, you're going to run in here, and you're going to stab him with a pitchfork, or you're going to do whatever. And we would invariably make messes of each other's houses and cause all kinds of riots. So that's kind of what did it for me, was a combination of Universal Monsters and the drive-in movies that I was seeing every weekend. Because they were still playing Hammer movies at the drive-in, man. And I'd go down there and I'd be like, Curse of the Werewolf, and it was
my
playing.
Favorite werewolf movie.
It is a great one. Invasion of the Blood Farmers would play with that. And you're like, they don't even go together, but it was perfect. It didn't matter. Then the Late Late Show was some horrible John Waters film, and you'd be like, oh my God, a singing butthole. So yeah, anything could happen. And what I might add at the magic of the 70s was driving on the highway, and there's a 500-foot screen with a singing butthole right next to the highway. Or even worse. You never know what could be playing at the Late Show. But it was, those were good times. And all of that whole era inspired me, because it was very open. Nowadays, it's like all about the politically correct, we can't show this, we can't do that. Yeah. And kids shouldn't be around this. But you know what, back then, man, the drive-in was, you'd take your kids. They'd show a Mr. Magoo cartoon, and then all of a sudden, I drink your blood. It didn't even matter. It was just, it was all, and monster movies were a lot. It was just fun. I mean, I guess that's what made me decide inevitably that I really loved doing it, because the first time I got the film developed and watched it, man, can you imagine that feeling? You know, you're a little kid,
goodness,
well, you know.
Yeah.
But it was like I had to wait so long to get the film back. That's what sucked. And then when I did get it back and I put it in, it was god awful. But it was so great because I could watch me. There we are. We did this. There's the Frankenstein moment I hoped would come out. You know, one good thing out of like a half an hour, but it was cool.
Now, what are your, you know, because you're older, you did the whole 70s thing. What is your take on the 80s and the horror boom of the 1980s? Like what we know as a pop culture society now that we're still aping from today.
It's true.
Everything from the 80s. Like, what was your take growing up? I assume, you know, like...
I was barely a teenager myself when the 80s hit, but I got to tell you that it really was like a renaissance in some ways, and I think it was the accumulation. Like, the 60s started it, and the revolution of horror, you know, Hammer films and all the great things that were happening there, and a lot of the looser codes, you know, the codes administration had fallen away. We started to get the MPAA, things were a lot more open. Also, there wasn't a thing in place for, like, independent films didn't have to be... Like, we didn't have to be censored so much, and so it was kind of interesting to see drive-ins would play everything, and they needed product, much like the VHS boom. So I watched this thing become more and more intense, and then they started introducing, and I think that's why the 80s are so memorable, they started introducing home video, and first Betacam, those crazy weird CAV laser disc things that weren't really laser discs, but they were cartridge weird things, and then the VHS, and then the real Laserdisc, and all this was going on in the 80s, and for the first time ever, I could watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre in my living room, or Blood Feast, for instance. They played drive-ins, but you'd have to wait and wait to get them, and you don't know, and when they were playing, it could be snowing, or it could be some reason you couldn't go. I didn't have to deal with that. I could go to, like, well, here I am. I'm at this crazy video store where they used to charge you $200 to join the club, and then every time you rented a movie, you'd have to give them a sperm sample. But yeah, it was like, you know, it was fantastic because suddenly I'm taking home these movies, and I'm watching them, and I'm able to rewatch them, and I get to keep them for 3 days, and I can watch them all I want during 3 days. And I think that's what happened with the 80s, and not only that, but because there were so many theaters, the drive-ins were still going. The smaller independent cinemas were still going. They also started the big multiplex theaters during the 80s. And, you know, the end of the 70s, they kind of started doing that. And the multiplex theaters, and all these theaters needed product. And with the home video boom, it was even worse. Okay, we got to show you new stuff all the time, and we got to show you things that you're not always going to see. So there was a big opening for movies like exploitation films and things I loved. And I used to go down to the Empire Theater, which at the time was kind of like an indoor grindhouse. You know, I called it the indoor drive-in because I didn't know the term grindhouse back then. But it was basically the movies that you would see at a drive-in, you could see there all year around. So when the drive-ins were closed from the blizzard, which in Kansas City is a lot, you would be going to the Empire Theater and you'd be watching Night of the Zombies, and the crowds were nuts. Like, people would be flying off the balconies and screaming at the screen, and it became this whole thing. And that we were importing more and more foreign films. That's when the Italian horror films really hit. And when we started it, you know, they were starting to do a little bit with Deep Red and Suspiria and the Tombs of the Blind Dead series and some of that. But then, like, when we hit the 80s, it was like a floodgate. Not only was Italy producing some of the greatest horror films of all time, we were importing that stuff from Italy, from Japan, from Mexico, Paul Naschy movies. You were seeing this stuff. Frankenstein's Bloody Terror was in the 70s. It was in the early 70s. We saw it here in like 75, and then that was a hit, so they started doing more of that. Like I said, building up. And by the time the 80s hit, it was like a horror renaissance. I mean, there was horror everything. And it was great because that's when I got to, you know, Fulci's Zombie played in 79. And then, like, the floodgates open. We had a bunch of Fulci movies because it made money. And all the guys, 21st Century Distribution and all those crazy cats, Jerry Gross, these guys were putting these movies out because they needed it to survive against the home video market. And they also then needed more product for the home video market because that took off. Then all of a sudden you're seeing Jess Franco movies and you're like, God, that movie was horrible, but I loved every minute of it because it's like you didn't even understand. And the thing about the drive-in back then, I'd go to see a movie and I'd go back 2 weeks later and it was the same damn movie with a different title. It was like, oh my God, I just saw this now. Vampire Hookers is now Graveyard Tramps. What's going on? It was that kind of thing going on all the time, and I loved it because it was like the Wild West. I always say that. And then the VHS happened, and that became even more of the Wild West, and it was so amazing to see all this stuff. And it really influenced us because not only was it at our fingertips, but there was such a huge amount of it. So now you go to a video store, what's left of them, you might go to Family Video, and you'll see a few horror titles here and there, a lot compared to what we're used to nowadays, but it's like, man, back then, and it wasn't like Blockbuster, where Blockbuster said, okay, there's 50 new releases coming out this week, but we're going to carry the 20 of them that we think you should see. Back then, it was like we carry it all. Movies at home, even Hollywood Video for a while, they carried it. If it was coming out, they carried it. And before that, we had Anton's House of Video. We had National Video. We had all these chains everywhere. And all these chains would carry everything because they were competing with the other chains. And if Movies at Home had the rug suckers from Mars, the oversexed rug suckers from Mars, if they had that and Revenge of the Teenage Vixens from Outer Space, then by God, we'd better have that at this video store or we're not going to make any money. All of a sudden you're getting movies like 555 and you're getting these the shot on video stuff like The Ripper and all these weird movies and even some of our early stuff. It's because of that mentality that they needed product. They needed asses to come in that door, and they were competing. And they were also competing with cable TV because one of the things you have to realize about the drive-ins and the grindhouses, and I know I'm rambling, but I'm really trying to make it clear, cable really took hold in the late 70s. A lot of houses started getting cable through the mid-70s, but it was like, God, who could afford it? And they had those horrible boxes, chink, chink, like 8 channels. But then it started getting bigger and bigger. And then when you got into like 1980, cable was coming in. And it was the wave of the future. If you're going to keep people going to theaters, you got to show them something. You got to bring something. And then with all the cable channels, guess what? They needed product too. So all this helped us. And we were exposed to all of this stuff. Stuff that we would have never been exposed to because of the time and because of the demand. And so now the 80s shaped all of us, I think, in some way. So I absolutely loved it. For me, it was like a party. Here I am, I'm becoming a teenager, and everything I could ever ask for is at my fingertips. And they don't card. Hell, the grindhouses I went to didn't card. I was down there, I was 11 years old watching Blazing Stewardesses. It didn't matter. Chatterbox, 12 years old, I love it. I didn't care. Because it just seemed to me like, in those days and age, they were pretty much anything you wanted was on the table. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. When did you first start seeing the shot on video stuff? Like where you were really becoming aware of like, wait a minute, there's movies out there that people are just making in their like backyards or their garages or whatever.
I do remember seeing a couple of those, and one of the first ones I saw was Boarding House. But the thing was, it played at the drive-in first, and it looked weird. I remember thinking, well, this looks a little weird. It doesn't look like a normal movie, but I didn't realize that they'd shot it on 3/4 or beta or whatever it was until years later. But they basically shot that on video, blew it up to film, and put it back on video. And I remember it played theaters, and it was under a couple of House Geist or something was one of them, and it's cashing in on the whole poltergeist thing. But yeah, boarding house was one, and then United Entertainment would put out like Blood Cult, and I remember Blood Cult, and I was like, I think what upset me about some of those, and I respect them, don't get me wrong, I do, I respect all movies, especially those that get out there and people obviously were trying to do something, but like Blood Cult, I thought, God man, the gore effects are great. Why am I watching a soap opera for everything in between? Because it was just that look that they had back then. Yeah. That's just how it looked. It looked like a soap opera. And then the script was people just sitting around talking, and I'm like, it's 109 minutes. Why? Let's cut this. But that's when I first saw that whole video thing happening, and then the movie The Ripper with Tom Savini. And at that point, I was already making my own movies. And it was actually because of those movies that I started looking at maybe having someone look at the stuff my friends and I were doing, even though it was, by God, The Ripper was 10 times better than anything we were doing. But the fact those guys at least had a clue, we were just kids. But I still felt like, okay, let me get my foot in the door and start sending these out. So I would go to the video store, and I even worked at like 4 different video stores. I'd just write the stuff down. And I was working with sub-distributors who were trying to sell me these movies, and I'm like, you should carry my movie. That's how I got my first movie even released, was because this one sub-distributor, he handled the 3-state area, and our little movie Shivers, which was an anthology dedicated to Tales from the Crypt and all those, kind of a creep show thing. And we did this crap on weekends with these stupid kids. But we got that sucker distributed. We sold like 70 tapes or whatever. And we thought it was the greatest thing in the world. We're superstars! But, no. But, that I would contact these guys and I would try to get my foot in the door. And that's how, I was going to some conventions here and there. I'd try to save up and go to conventions. Years later, that's how I ended up with David Dakota's, because he was doing stuff too, and Cinema Home Video was starting to grow. And I'm like, they're making this stuff like we are. And so I contacted him, and he saw our stuff and went kind of, hey, I could do something with this. Of course, I'm like, yeah! If I could go in a time machine, I'd slap myself in the face and say, no, wait a little while, learn more. Then they won't suck.
Yeah, but, there's fans today.
I know it.
Like,
I love Zombie Rampage.
who quite enjoyed that stuff and,
I respect that.
Helped form who they are today.
Well, I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. That makes me, that's what it's all about, because God knows we never made a dime. It was the fact that we were trying to, that's the whole reason I did it, was try to give something back. I mean, when I was a kid, you watch a movie like, I'd have a crummy day, crummy week. You get in a fight with teachers or you're in trouble. I got grounded all the time. You know why? I told you earlier. So I was like, you know what? I need to go to the movies. I'd go to the movies and just watch a movie for a couple hours and lose all that. It would take all that away. And so movies like Slithus or Phantasm, I remember going, because I could actually just take my bike down there. So I was like, I'm watching these crazy movies. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that. I want to do that for somebody. My goals weren't lofty. I wasn't trying to be a millionaire or a superstar. I just wanted maybe some other kid that had can I cuss on this show?
Oh, yeah.
Shitty day.
Yes.
Some other kid that had a shitty day suddenly watched one of my movies, and maybe it did, after they puke from watching it, maybe it made them have a better day.
Indeed. Now, you went through a time of reflection, let's say. Or, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Well, I think we all go through that time, several times a day. But
and so what sort of fueled your creativity during that downtime before you had the big thing that happened to you, and then decided to jump back into the magic? What because we creatives know that you can't.
You have to do something.
Yes, no matter how many times you say, you know what, I think I'm just gonna take a little break. I'm not gonna do this anymore. It's just too much stress. Blah blah blah. But you're cranking things out in your head. You're still So what did you do to find that creativity, but not get behind the camera?
It's a good question, because really I loved doing it, but then I was. Here in Kansas City, it got to a point where it was very difficult because locations were getting tougher and tougher to come by. People had started trying to be movie makers, and I respect that, but they would trash places and you couldn't get locations. And then on top of that, there was a lot of delusional, people get mad at you because the movie wasn't an Academy Award. Where, I'm like, I didn't say it. I'm hitting you in the face with entrails. What do you think's happening? Yeah. It was just one of those weird times. And also, my radio show had taken off. I was doing that. I was kind of mentored by Art Bell, and he kind of was really pushing me to do this show for a local station, and I did that, and that went pretty well to the point where I'd started getting a lot of affiliates worldwide, and it was taking a lot of time to produce the show and to do all this. And then on top of that, I was trying to make this comedy action movie, and right halfway through filming, the distributor I was working with just basically said, send me over what you got, send me some shots, or make me a trailer or something. And then they're like, yeah, we're not going to sell this. There's no way, no one wants this. If you can't just throw blood, no one's going to want it. No one wants to watch this, Todd. Unless you got someone that's a A-list actor in this thing, no one watches comedies, and in a way they're right. But I just wanted to try something different, and it wasn't even really it was kind of like an exploitation movie, really. It wasn't really just it was just really weird. We were trying our best to do something just kind of fun and different. And of course horror is my first love, but I just wanted to try something different and something fun and weird. And so it was kind of a David Lynch kind of weird, dark comedy, bizarre. I don't even know how to describe it. It's called Say It Again. And I found the footage recently, and it may come out. But at the time, I was really disillusioned. And I was raising a kid. I was raising my son. And then I had my daughter. And I was trying to raise my daughter. And really, my band had taken off. I was on tour. I was doing shows I was opening for like Ice-T and bands like Enslaved and doing all these. So we did like the Milwaukee Metal Fest. There's like 8,000 people there, you know. We're doing all these shows everywhere, and we're trying to grow. We started doing more and more touring and shows everywhere in the Midwest here. That band was Dissension, and it was doing so well. And I'm just like, I just don't have enough time to fight these jerks anymore, and I don't have time to basically have doors slammed in my face. And at the time, it was like a backlash going on against really extreme gore and stuff, and so it was like really difficult. The Dove Resource Group, of all people, had bought Blockbuster. Really? They're cutting Gremlins? And the climate changed, and it was like ridiculous. So I kind of, not on purpose, but I just semi-retired. But then when you almost die, I mean, I literally thought I was going to die. I had a heart attack. I had quadruple bypass surgery. I'd never done a drug. I've never drank. I'm a nerd. It was just genetic. And so I remember 31 days in the hospital. And right before that, Antoine had been on my back. Antoine's been a trooper. We've been making movies together 25 years. And he said, we're making another movie. So I just got some new equipment, some new lighting, and things were getting nicer looking. And we thought, oh, let's give this a little shot. 3 weeks before I had the heart attack, we filmed right here in this building. And we did like this little teaser thing about a night watchman who ends up with a ghost coming after him. And it was just a quick little short that became House of Forbidden Secrets. And I wanted to do a test first and put it out there and see if anyone even cared anymore. So I did that, and I put it out there. I got a few bites. Then I almost damn near died, and I guess the word got out. And all of a sudden I freaked out because literally they started a fan club for me on Facebook, which I blew my mind. That's Brandon and Thomas, Matt Hill, those guys. And then, like, I got 20,000 emails. I'm not exaggerating here. It was like unbelievable. I had to check this because my email stopped working. And and you can ask anyone that was around me at the time. It floored me. And I had people sending me videos from YouTube where they were crying. I was like, Stephen Ferrandino had tears. This guy that I always thought hated me because he always trashed out the early movies. He was a critic. He had tears. He's like, oh my God, we got to pray for Todd Sheets. And all these people were doing these videos. You don't know what that does. Because here I am thinking, no one gives a damn about that old stuff. Mm-hmm. And my heart was just like hurting because I missed making movies so much. I said, if I ever get out of this damn hospital, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with doing things I don't love. I'm done with the 9-to-5 nightmare. I'm done. I mean, we all have to make a living, but I'm done with all this crap, pouring my soul into something that isn't for me. Mm-hmm. I'm getting back to making movies, and I promised myself that that's what I was going to do, and within 6 months out of the hospital, I was making House of Forbidden Secrets,
Yeah, I remember the time.
It was god-awful, man. Nobody should do it. It's bad. Yeah. Despair. I hadn't seen the sunlight, and I made him bring me my dog, though, because I couldn't survive anymore. My dog was getting depressed. She wouldn't eat. Like, bring me my dog. They snuck my dog in and brought it to the hospital. It's like, I'm going to have my dog. And that that's what got me through it, is those moments. You don't even realize. You take all that for granted, those little moments. One lick in the eye from a dog can save your life. Trust me. I want to thank all those people, by the way, who, because it's because of you. I really believe that. You gave me the strength to get out of that mess. Because, that's difficult.
Brandon's a good guy. Brandon, he's also a giant, LBP Warlock fan.
He's great, yeah. He is.
He's a good guy.
He is, and Thomas is amazing, and he does all those crazy giant monster movies and stuff, and I love it. And we got so many good friends out there that you didn't even know, and I knew something weird was going on because I used to be with Inglewood Entertainment, and Inglewood would put out my stuff, but they never gave me a single report, so I thought no one was buying any of my movies. Then I get to Jersey, and they said, "Can you be a guest of Chiller Theater?" And I was like, "Sure." And this was a long time ago, of course, 96 or 95 or whatever. And I'm sitting next to Kevin Sorbo. I love the story because I got to eat lunch with Kevin Sorbo. But the best part was I had a line of people with all my VHSs that were there the whole time because I'd never done anything like that. And I'm signing and signing. I'm like, what the hell? That's when I knew. But that's also when I knew that I'd been stolen from for years. But I didn't care about that, really. I was just so happy someone had the movies. But I was like, if I would have seen a couple of dollars, I could make bigger movies.
Yeah. Man. Inspiration. All right, so this is just, I guess, a little more generic as far as this is the last one.
The generic question.
Well, it's like as a filmmaker, everybody sort of has their favorite, the thing that they have done where they're actually the most proud of the product. It might not be the best movie that you've done, but for you personally, it's your favorite. Take out all the fans, take out anybody ever said about any of your stuff. You, Todd Sheets.
It's my remake of Chris Seaver's Geek War. That's,
that is a tour de force.
I forgot to tell you I remade that. No, it's that's an interesting question because it's almost like for me it's like there's two different answers because I have the original career and then I have my rebirth after dying.
Okay. Well, what?
It's so weird because
What do you love from the early days?
Violent New Breed.
Okay.
That would be my baby from the early days because we actually had a little bit of a budget. We blew stuff up. We caught dudes on fire. We had Rudy Ray Moore, who I loved dearly, and we were able to, for the first time, I kind of felt like I had a handle on something. Like I started, I kind of disowned the early movies before Zombie Bloodbath.
Yes, which is a crime.
There's reasons,
crime, but I get it.
There's reasons
because
I was tortured.
Right there with you, but
I was beaten down by people who told me if I ever picked up a camera, they'd kill my mother. Ugh. And they meant it, but I was like, look, it's just a movie, dude, for God's sakes. Yeah. But I think Violent New Breed for me was kind of a culmination of that period. And then we went on and did some pretty cool stuff after that, like Shivers and those kind of movies, which they kept getting better, I thought. But Violent New Breed, I think to this day, might be the most ambitious shot-on-video movie, I'm told anyway, that anyone's ever attempted. And it was insane. I don't know what we were thinking, but that's the whole point. No one told us no. No one told us we couldn't. Well, actually, everyone told me I could, especially in Kansas City. You can't make movies here. But with Violent New Breed, no one told me that I was being too ambitious, that I was working with. They all said, oh, yeah, Todd, go for it. But you know what? We had 5 different effects crews from around the world, and we did a lot of the world. Listen to me. No, it was from America, trust me. I couldn't afford. Yeah, let me bring over Gianetto De Rossi. We're going to have him do some. No, it was a time when that movie, even though that was also the movie when, listen to this, I had a co-producer on the film who decided he was going to start a side company called Underdog Films. His name was Greg, and he was pulling people by going around lying to them and telling them that, the budget there's no more money for this movie, the budget's fallen out, this is going on, that's going on, Todd's full of crap, and he was trying to steal people from me. Mutiny, I had mutiny on my hands in the middle of this movie that was the biggest movie of my career with people from all over the country coming in here, and I really thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown. But it ended up working out, and I fell in love with that movie, maybe because of that, because it was my hardest experience, but also because, against all odds, we made that movie happen. And then, of course, after the heart attack, I think as a viewer of these movies, you can see the difference, because something happened while I was away. Like, I don't know, I'm not tooting my horn or anything, I'm just thinking something happened, because it went from being kind of underground, micro-budget, really raw, and then with House of Forbidden Secrets on, it's almost like they're kind of real movies. Something kind of weird happened.
I hear it all the time, Todd.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's really weird because it's like something, when I was gone, I learned something. I don't know how because I'm so damn stubborn, but somehow I learned how to make a movie in there somewhere. And I mean, my Bible was film directing shot by shot. I mean, I just read that thing the whole time. I was, but and I learned as I got older, I could see more of the things that book was talking about, and I could learn more about composition and about things about filmmaking that maybe let's be honest, during the Goblin days, it was like, that's how many guts can we pull out of that earlobe? It wasn't about composition or dolly shots or how to make it look beautiful. It was like, hey, we got enough light on that gut, let's get it out of here. It was just spray them more blood, that blood's awful watery, Todd. Well, it's gumming up the damn sprayer, let's do it anyway. Yeah, all these goofy things. You cared about the goofiest things, and you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Because like when you first started, your main goal was, all right, let's make sure these punchlines hit. Let's make sure this is hitting and that's hitting. And like just from me as a viewer of your work, I see, the humor was the number one thing, and how you were going to get that punchline and the gross out parts. But then as it goes on, you see the same thing with you. Like you still got your traditional gross out parts and your punchlines, but your filmmaking skills, you're like, holy crap, man. You watch, if you were to take either one of our movies and watch the first one and then watch the newest one, you're like, this ain't even the same guy.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it great, because you start thinking about, wow, man, wouldn't it be cool if while I'm doing this fart joke, I'm going to do this really cool spinning belly shot? It's just kind of cool. It just makes it that much better. You know what I mean? And I'm super proud of this guy. You guys don't even understand.
Thank you.
We clicked. We met for the first time face to face in New York, and that was my favorite part.
Actually, that's not true.
No, that's true. I met you at Cinema Wasteland before that.
Yes.
I remember
in
that.
Ohio.
But that's the first time we actually got to really talk.
Yeah.
Because I remember
was more of a blubbering fool when I first met
Actually,
Todd.
I remember you coming up to the table.
I had my movies. I was just like, you have no idea, Mr. Sheets. You inspired me. You know, I was just all over.
I was like, dude, let's go get some food. That's how I am. And he's like, yeah, I'll come back around. I never saw him again.
I was too. Yeah, I was a pussy.
I was like, come on, let's go eat. Yeah, I'll eat with anybody. Come on.
Yeah.
If you would have gone with me, you got to eat with the cast of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. See?
Well, I'm an idiot.
That's because he ran away. Come on, dude. Yeah, I remember that, though. I remember that there was a couple of guys that came up and like, oh, man, I've been wanting to meet you for years. And I was like, this is cool as hell, man. I'm like, I'm not anybody. I'm just a dude with some bad movies, but I really appreciate it. I was across from the trauma table. I remember that. And there was like some guy over here selling CDs and stuff, but there was the trauma table was kind of diagonal from me when you came up.
Yeah, I just find it, I thought it was like, anytime stuff like that happened, like when I started to work with Lloyd and JR and all that stuff, it was just like, and I was at a convention selling my movies while Todd Sheets is at a convention selling his movies, you know, across the room from where we were selling movies, and it just was so like,
it's surreal.
I'm here. A part of what he did to me is the reason why I'm here selling these movies. And this guy is like in back of me, you know. I can turn around and walk up to this man and say, thank you. It was just it was awesome, you know. And that's how it was with J.R. Bookwalter and Lloyd and you know, even Todd Cook, you know.
Yeah, I love Todd, yeah.
It was just like getting those moments and really sitting there and thinking like, you know, like 11-year-old Chris would like be, you know, shitting his pants, but however old Chris is also shitting his pants.
Yes.
You know, because it all like, it was like a full circle thing for me. And that's what happened, honestly, because like all the people that I grew up watching SOV stuff and being like, I'm doing the same thing, and they're really like giving me that passion to do it, I ended up being friends and or working for.
That's true.
Throughout my life, and that is just like,
that's awesome.
You know, as much as I'm a downer on me and my life and my like, oh, woe is me, I do have those moments where I sit there and I'm like, holy shit, like
fanboy out.
I do it all the time. It really did happen, and this was awesome. So, but yeah, this guy, man.
Yeah, man, I don't. You talk about blubbering fool. You should see me I'm directing Ilsa. Okay, holy cap, I'm Ilsa. I mean, who would have believed? I always said I'm going to do it. I never believed I was going to do it. And then I did it. And
you young kids, look it up. You'll see.
It's unbelievable because she's also one of the sweetest women of all time. And we had such a good time, and we're still like family to each other. And I just love her, and I love Howard. And they came in, and we shot like some major scenes with them. We put her and Lou Temple in a scene together. How can you connect The Walking Dead and Ilsa? I did it. I found a way. But the weirdest part is I'm sitting here directing these two amazing actors who are already tearing the scene up. I mean, you've written this scene, right? I'm sitting in a hospital dying writing this scene, by the way. And then I'm on the set, not even a year later, and they're reading this dialogue, bringing it to life. And that right there at that very moment, not only was I like feeling like I was in some surreal dream, like I'm going to wake up. I even told people on the set, and people in my life, I was like, I think I'm still in the hospital. I think I'm still on that bed, and I'm not. I think this is all bullshit. I'm going to wake up, and I'm still going to be laying there. And I really felt that way. It started kind of wigging me out because it was so surreal. And then I'm like, you know, Lloyd was in it, and Ari Lehman was in it, and George Hardy, my buddy from Troll 2, was in it.
Yeah.
I've got all these people I love surrounding me. And on top of all that, the icing, Alan Kaiser, my buddy from Night of the Frickin' Creeps, who was the Bradster, and he was here hanging out with
Mama's
me.
Family.
Oh, I know. He was Bubba. But and we've got a shrine to Alan that we pull out every once in a while. And he'll never see. He might see this, but I was sitting there, and especially with Ilsa, because Diane was everything I wanted her to be and more, and she was playing the brothel madam, and I remember her whipping. First of all, the scene was surreal because I had a midget riding can I say midget nowadays? I don't even know. I had a
you
midget
can on this show.
That's right, damn it. There was a midget riding a naked woman with a riding crop, and Ilsa takes the riding crop away and starts beating the hell out of the guy. I mean, how can you not love that? And then, I'm like sitting there watching these actors interact, but the big thing for me was her and Lou Temple, and the way we were sitting at this table and we're molding the characters and we're molding the moments and the beats, and I'm sitting there thinking, how the hell did I get here? Yeah. Because I remember sitting there trying to rig up like fishing line on a gut to make it pull out of a goblin guy's ear in the middle of the woods with a couple of clamp lights and a old VHS camcorder, and now I'm here. I don't deserve to be here, but at the same time, I'm not going to miss a minute of it. And I think, the problem with me and you both. I know with you, you look at that and you're like, yeah, what am I doing? You start questioning your own ability. But the thing is, dude, I believe in you. I love your stuff, and I know there's other people that way too. We're out here to support each other. And we're following our dreams, and those dreams are insane sometimes. But don't ever feel bad about yourself, Chris, because I'm telling you right now, I'm your guardian angel, dude. I love what you do. I love what you do. I'm not saying it just for this camera. It's true.
Oh, I know. We've had phone conversations that
it's true.
Quite deep and meant a lot to me.
Well, that's because when you're on the Facebook, you're saying I'm going to retire. The first thing I'm doing is like, let's talk, because I can't have that, because you're the next generation. You're really carrying on my love and my passion. And if I would have died during that time in that hospital, you would be carrying it on. And that's what you got to remember. If it isn't for you, God dang, man, what are we going to have? A bunch of cell phone Scorseses? Jesus, let's not do it. So you're the future, and don't forget it. Don't retire. Well, Jesus,
I'll retire next week, and then remember this.
And then come back.
Yeah, and I'll come back.
And I'll retire 16 times. I've tried to retire this month alone like 15 times. So. And then I keep writing scripts. What the hell's wrong with it? It's a sickness. I think they need to have a hospital for people like us.
All right, so let's just go right into the end here. We gotta pimp your stuff, man. We gotta what is rocking with Todd Sheets right now? Like your development.
Well, let's talk
the magic
about
that's about to be unleashed.
Let's start with Dreaming Purple Neon, which was released very recently on home video. They did the DVD release. The Blu-ray release is coming. It's also hitting pay-per-view and all these things. So, Dreaming Purple Neon, Unearthed Films put it out. Stephen Byra, who's a maniac, and I love him. We're like brothers. And then Bone Hill Road is coming. We're working with Wild Eye Releasing and some amazing people to get that out. We're looking at a Halloween release for that. In the meantime, it's playing all over the country. It's playing overseas. It's doing a theatrical, a film festival, a convention tour. You're going to be able to catch it. It's a werewolf movie. BoneHillRoad.com. Also, look at us up on Facebook, Dreaming Purple Neon, Bone Hill Road. Come over, like the page. You get updates there. And Bone Hill, I'm really, really proud of, because we've really done something. It's my dream to make a werewolf movie, and people are really being kind. I mean, it's gotten like 98%, or probably more than that. I think it's gotten almost 100% great reviews. I've never seen a bad review for it. Only one person was just like, "Yeah, man, we wish it had more werewolves." And I'm like, "Well, god dang, give me more money. I had 5." I mean, yeah, I wanted an army of werewolves. That could be the sequel, Bone Hill Road: The Army of Werewolves. If you'll please give freely to the Werewolf Appreciation Fund. But no, check out Bone Hill Road. I'm really proud of it, and it's coming out, and we've got some big things going on with that. Some things I can't announce yet, but we're kind of crossing over into a different audience, and I'm really kind of scared because we know our stuff. But when you start going into other areas, they may be like, "You suck," because when a movie doesn't look like the Avengers, they tend to shit all over it. Just have a big shite.
Oh yeah.
Right now, we are doing crowdfunding, Indiegogo, and GoFundMe for Clownado. If you look up Clownado on Facebook, you'll find our page. All the links are on there. We'd love to have people help out because Clownado is a huge, insane, epic project. And hopefully we'll have a guest star in the movie. I'd like to pull together a lot of the SOV guys. We're also, Matt Hill has been writing the remake of Goblin. I hated the original, but he's done some really cool things, and I've been working closely with him on that, and Goblin remake is going to happen. It's a huge team effort. Like, everybody in Extreme is pretty much hands-on this film. There's going to be several directors involved and everything else. And I want to get everybody from the SOV era that I can to also be in that in some way. I want to bring Thomas in and Brandon. I want you to be in it and all these people. So but Clownado, I can't make a movie called Clownado without Chris Seaver. I can't do it. But those are the two things we're working on currently. We also have Cruel Midnight. The script is done. It's a vampire flick done our way. So you know it's a geyser of blood from beginning to end. Blood, breasts, and beasts, baby. I learned it from Joe Bob, and I still believe it. And Roger Corman. Roger Corman's thinking, it's been 8 minutes, and I haven't seen a boob. This movie's going on the shelf until you film some more titty. But
that's how I live my life, man.
That's right. I really do believe that Clownado is going to surprise people, because with a title like that, you're expecting trash. You're expecting like, oh man, what is this? Sharknado ripoff? What is this? Nothing like that. It's actually a serious horror film. It's got some dark humor, but it's supposed to be kind of scary, a lot of action, and there's some of the most twisted stuff I have ever done in this script. I mean, I'm starting to wonder myself, what am I thinking? But it'll blow some minds, I think, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just going to be good. We're going to do stuff. What do you got going on right now?
This show.
Chris is doing this show. I want to thank everyone that does, like, tunes into this show, because I've watched a few episodes, and I got to tell you something. It's really cool to see you do this YouTube channel, because you've got such a great personality, man, and your stuff is so entertaining, and there's so many YouTube. I don't even watch YouTube anymore. I'm so burnt out on these people. This guy gives me a reason to watch YouTube again. And I'm not even saying, I mean, seriously. Am I wrong over here, Andrew? Am I wrong? See, Andrew's saying.
Well, he's holding the $500 that he's going to give you for saying all this.
Thank you very much for the budget. Clownado. I can just afford one more clown. No, seriously. I mean, it's really true. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody's a superstar nowadays. Social media has made it so, so much self-importance and just so many people who are glorified freak shows.
Tell me about it.
And so I'm like, and boring. I get so tired of it. How many times do I have to watch people tell me how to put on glittery shoelaces? I don't want to know. I'm not going to wear them.
I know.
This guy puts on some good stuff. And not only that, his movies are great. And if you haven't seen them, my favorite is Geek Horror right now. But I go through different phases. But
I think when you see the Weirdsies,
I can't wait.
Really,
the Weirdsies, man. He forgot to bring me one, so I can't
did.
watch.
I am sorry.
I'm crying right now.
But I do have a link that I will give you.
Okay.
That's a
Good. We'll keep it top secret.
That's right.
Then I won't be crying inside.
All right, we're gonna go. But I want you to give a shout out to a young filmmaker out there who is trying to make. He's getting going. He's 16. He's trying to make his movies now. You did correspond with him, but he was begging me to have you give him a shout out on the show. His name is Chase Party.
Oh yeah, Chase.
He's gonna be crapping.
I actually need to send him some messages, because we were kind of going back and forth, but then I got insanely busy, which happens, and I'm not on Facebook as much as I want, because I'm filling Indiegogo perks for Bonehill, which is, my God, I need a team. Anyone want to work for free? Volunteers? But Chase, hey man, thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you for continuing on, because look, Chris is my next generation, and you're his next generation. So see, you got to do this. You got to follow your dreams, and you got to make these movies.
That's right.
And this goes for anyone out there that we've inspired in any way. Don't let anyone tell you no. Don't let anyone take your dreams away, because life without dreams is one big wet pile of shit. Get out there and do what you love. Sometimes you got to flip a burger, but you know what? When you're done flipping the burger, go make a frickin' movie. That's what I'm talking about. So Chase, it's awesome. The things you said in that letter were great, and we really love what you're doing. So please continue it.
That's right. Crush your enemies.
Take them down.
Driven before you.
Take them all down.
Hear the lamentation.
Pump them up. No,
right.
Don't do that.
All right, guys. That is it. This is Todd Sheets. I'm Crispin Sievage, and we are out for the Gory days.